What's going on there, folks? Good evening. It's the Earthmaster here on this Friday night, that is, December 9th, 2022. It's about 7:18 p.m. here along the west coast, California. Latest earthquake shows a 2.2 earthquake on the Earthquake 3D globe over around the, kind of looks like the Italy area, listed up there on the map, the latest earthquake. Also some activity shown up there on the Petrolia station there, just on the left side of the screen. Things starting to kick up just slightly in that region. So let's go ahead and check out the latest activity here across the map as we bring up the USGS 24-hour earthquake map here. Still seeing quite a bit of clusters of earthquakes around the Philippines today. Just after the update this morning, we've seen another 5.6 come in to the area of the Philippines, and also since then quite a swarm of 4s in the Japan area as well up north. So things really kicking up here. Let's look at a little bit more localized area as far as the seismic activity goes. The last one in this region of 4.2, super deep down into the Izu Trench here, south of Tokyo, Japan. Onto down into the trench, as mentioned, 451 kilometers deep for a 4.2. Now, we have seen deeper activity here in the past couple days, up north around the Sea of Osk, also down through the area around East China Sea and areas of the Philippine Plate, or Philippine Trench down here. So things should be rocking and rolling here very soon along portions of the eastern section of the Philippine Plate here. That would include a Mariana Trench region, also up north around the Izu Trench, the subduction areas, not to mention Japan Trench and the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. We've seen a lot of deep activity with hardly any adjustment upstream, so watch this zone pretty closely. It's been quiet altogether anyway in terms of recent activity, so watch that for some further movement. Down south here around Papua New Guinea, got some earthquake activity kicking off earlier this morning, about 9 o'clock or so. 4.6 coming into the Papua New Guinea area. 10 kilometers deep, relatively shallow movement there today. One earthquake right now into the Fiji area. Look at this, 580 kilometers deep for a 4.6. Our typical zone that sees some deeper movement. This has been relatively quiet here over the past recent history, the past day or so. As you can see, not a whole lot listed up here on the USGS map, so things are starting to kick back up. We've seen some further deep activity westward up here, and things are starting to catch back up here south. But at the same time, got to remember these zones up here are building up a lot of strain. Apparently, there's not enough stress up here yet to produce a megaquake or a very large earthquake, but things could be getting interesting here very soon for that region. The rest of the Tonga Trench, Kermadec Trench, looks pretty quiet. Quick glance here at the USGS and EMSC model here across the New Zealand area shows a 3.1. Also, 3.1 is North Island, New Zealand there. Looks like it's around that super volcano. We'll check that out here in just a second. Taupo Volcano, that is. And also a 4.6 a little bit further north along the Kermadec Trench. So things quiet though. I mean, they're not really super active in this region yet, but with this deeper movement up north, we could see things really ramp back up in this area. All right, let's go ahead and check out the EMSC model here real quick. Kind of looks like that earthquake was over around Greece here. This one that just came in. Earthquake possibly felt in southern Greece 2 minutes ago. Okay, let's go to the GeoNet servers here real quick and see what we have for earthquake activity around New Zealand. The last earthquake measured here was a 3.19 hours ago, but we're going to go to the all magnitudes, includes deleted. The latest one, a 2.6, it looks like around the Taupo volcano 5 minutes ago. And that's the most recent one. I'm not seeing any other large earthquake activity. Let's give a quick glance here at the Taupo Super volcano drums. And those are not bass drum. Oh, look. Okay. I thought that was offline. said non-operational, I'd be like, okay, why are they pulling the plug on a super volcano seismogram? But anyway, here's the Taupo Volcano seismograph station here, and it looks like a little bit of activity kicking up here in the last few minutes or so for that area. So we may see a start of a little bit of swarming activity kicking up for that region. It's been relatively quiet here over the past 24 hours, and also, man, compared to a few days ago, we were definitely looking at a pretty good swarm of activity here around the Taupo volcano. But things have died off. But now with some deeper movement up north into the Fiji Islands area, things should start picking up down here. So we'll keep an eye along the Tonga Trench, Kermadec Trench, New Zealand area. Still has yet to catch up, and catch up meaning a little bit larger activity than what we've seen. All right, there's that deeper earthquake into the Sea of Oscar. It looks like earlier this morning, about 10 o'clock or so, 545 kilometers deep there into the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. That area still not showing any sufficient movement, folks. Got to watch that. I think that could be our next 8-pointer up there or larger. It's been super quiet in terms of sufficient release of pressure. I mean, it's been building up for a little while here in this area. Same for the this portion here of the Aleutian Trench, but I think this area has a little bit better shot of seeing something larger. Either way, still watching this region around the Aleutian Trench. The Alaska activity currently, some movement around Trident Volcano down south here. But nothing major going on currently. Some activity throughout the Cook Inlet and the Anchorage area. Latest quake outside of Denali, up north of the Alaska Range, about 42 kilometers west-southwest of Denali Park, 1.7, very small earthquake up there. No major movement up north around the Brooks Range or any other areas being reported across the region. Canada looks pretty quiet across the board, but let's go ahead and give a quick glance here at the Earthquakes Canada map and see what we have. Kind of looks like there's some activity out here across portions of the northern Cascadia subduction zone. And that's right smack dab on it. 130 kilometers south of the Port Alice, BC region. And let's see what we got here. Also, it looks like some activity right now coming into the Northern California area. Look at these seismograph stations here. We got Petrolia kicking up here. An earthquake, couple earthquakes there off the Northern California coast. Let me check this out real quick. 4.6 coming in just off the Northern California coastline right now. West of the plate boundary. This is the Gorda Plate here to the east and the Pacific Plate obviously to the west. 4.6 at 11 kilometers deep. Now looking at the seismograph station, there's two earthquakes here. Notice that very distinctly. Not for sure why I have two Petrolia stations up, but Petrolia is situated over here off the coast, or on the coast here, coastline in the mountain range here of Northern California. So picking up that 4.6 and a secondary earthquake coming in to the Northern California region. So some newer activity. I'm only seeing one earthquake listed up here on the map, but obviously we're seeing two. There's two distinct seismograph readings right there of two earthquakes. So just coming in right now. Also, it looks like down south here, some activity near the Bodfish region. 2.5 coming in about half an hour or so ago, it looks like. But either way, some activity kind of kicking up there off the coast of Northern California currently. So we'll watch that pretty closely. Cascadia, of course, sits here along the Pacific Northwest coastline. This earthquake potential harbors 9.0 or greater megaquake possibility. 322 years since the last rupture here. So we know stress is building. GPS systems show us the vertical uplift here of the land across the west coast. And obviously tremor activity has been pretty rampant there across the region as well. So let's go ahead and check out the tremor map here real quick. See what we got for activity today. 0. Nada. There is no tremor whatsoever being reported across the region. So I want to go back here over the last year from today's date and see what we have for data. think it's a fair enough look at the past here over the last year and see what we have for potential. We got 53,000 epicenters of tremor along the Cascadia subduction zone over the past year. That goes back to December 8th, 2021 to today's date, where obviously shows nothing, but that may be because we're a little bit early on the update here. But that's a lot of tremor activity along the Pacific Northwest, the Cascadia subduction zone. And it has been increasing in terms of the frequency of these upticks here over the last year or so. Compared to years past, we've seen breaks in the tremor with periodic upticks every 13 or 14 months. Well, you notice here on the chart, things are getting closer and closer and closer together, which could be a sign, possibly, not 100% certain, but could be a sign of something getting ready to go out here along the Cascadia subduction zone. The tremor, I think, plays a major part in possibly predicting the next Cascadia megaquake. And I pay attention to these patterns out here, and they've been getting relatively closer and closer together far as the uptick goes from years past, far as the amount of tremor goes. If you guys see what I'm talking about here, these lines up here, gray color lines indicating increasing tremor in high counts. Prior to about 2020, they were very periodic, about every 14 months or so. But about 2020 or so, middle of 2020, things started getting interesting here and started having a lot more tremor activity in this area. So, I can't predict it, but we can look at these little patterns and maybe possibly in the future, after the next Cascadia earthquake happens, we can look back and say, hey, this kind of happened prior to this earthquake, prior to the megaquake. We've seen a major, adjustment of tremor closely related in the time intervals here of the map. And, it's kind of what I'm looking at, kind of what I'm pointing at currently. But either way, 4.6 right now off the Gorda Escarpment. Let me look at this again here. Definitely there's two earthquakes there. We can obviously see that. First one, I'm guessing that's going to be the 4.6. Second one right here looks a lot smaller, but I'm guessing probably in the upper 3 range potentially for that secondary earthquake. All right, what else do we have? I know we kind of left off here somewhere. I kind of actually forgot where I was at. I think we were looking at some movement in Earthquakes Canada. That's right, with a 3.0 northern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. That one coming in, it looks like late last night with that UTC time, about 10 kilometers deep. And that one there is actually right on the Cascadia subduction zone, the northern segment here. All right, let's go back here to the earthquake activity. We'll wait for the second one here a little bit later. Movement out in Nevada has been showing some uptick. I'm going to go back here the past 30 days of all magnitudes, and most of these have actually been within the last week or so. Last 7 days of activity here shows 76 earthquakes. That's 7 days. You add on the 30-day map, and it's about 20 more, so 15 or more. Earthquakes out here in the northern Nevada, southern Oregon area, the border out here, seeing some activity. Now, a couple years ago, I was out here studying some earthquake activity across this region of Sheldon. Used to be called Sheldon National Antelope Refuge. Now, it's got a different name for some reason, which is okay. But definitely east of that activity that I was investigating here a few years back. I pulled up, let's see where it went to. Here we go. This is the historical map here of Nevada, the same area, northern Nevada, southern Oregon area. And notice that the swarm back in 2015, 2014, it's been that long since I've been out there. It doesn't feel like it. Feels like it was just yesterday, but that's a couple years. So this activity here has seen some fours in that swarm back in 2014, 2015 when I was out there investigating. But that was more localized here to the Sheldon area. This activity we're seeing now is centered a little bit further to the northeast. So We could start seeing a little bit of uptick in earthquake activity in the upper 3-4 range. There hasn't been any major quakes out here in this area. There's a lot of older feature volcanic fields that I've seen while I was investigating the area. A lot of obsidian rocks, volcanic domes and whatnot out here in this area. So things are, let me find my latest map here. Things are kind of migrating here to the northeast of that zone I was checking out there. So we'll definitely keep an eye on it. That's a lot of earthquake activity to occur over the about a 2-week period. In Northern California, aside from that movement well off the coast, some activity this morning. One at the southern end of the Cascadia, 2.5, near Petrolia, about 6 miles west-southwest of Petrolia, 12 kilometers deep there. Cascadia subduction zone earthquake. In Northern California, things were really ramping up here last night and early this morning around the Cobb Mountain area. We've seen a pretty good intense swarm. We had about, this little area had about, this time frame here last night, about 9:30 or so. We had about 10 earthquakes, maybe a little bit more, maybe 12 earthquakes or so, in about a 2-minute period here around the Cobb Mountain region. Now, if you don't know Cobb Mountain or the Clear Lake volcanic fields, there's a company called Calpine Hydrothermal Operations, and there's one of their facilities here. They produce energy by injecting raw sewage down below in the heated surface. Yes, Clear Lake volcanic field is still very active, and humans have found a way to create energy by, well, getting rid of the human waste, shooting it down below, and creating some type of dry steam that produces energy. I'm not 100% certain the whole outfit, but I was down here earlier this year checking out everything. Everything's secured, majorly secured with guards all over the place. But I did see some of these facilities at a distance, and obviously Google Maps, any type of satellite feature map, will show that this place is riddled with a bunch of these hydrothermal plants. And this is where all that swarming took place here over like a 2-minute period. The largest earthquake in that swarm was a 2.8, and that was quickly followed up by a pretty good swarm of activity. So hopefully these folks know what they're doing down there. You know, hopefully they're not making a whole bunch of weak areas out here in the crust where we could see this thing erupt. You know, I don't know, tampering with nature out there and doing all sorts of weird stuff. I'm sure there's all sorts of studies on it, but still kind of crazy. All right, it's back out of here. That's Northern California, Clear Lake Volcanic Field, Calpine Hydrothermal Operations there. South into California, the rest of California, some movement kind of creeping up here. Creeping up along the creeping segment. That's what it's called, the creeping section of the San Andreas Fault. Although this activity, there's a little bit of swarming just off there to the east. Looks like maybe about a mile or so on the, let's see which fault system, Pine Rock Fault Zone. Looks like a little secondary fault system here that runs parallel with the creeping segment. That showing some swarming today. 2.2 is the largest earthquake in that little sequence of earthquakes there. There's that one earthquake at 2.5 near Bodfish coming in within the last hour. Further down south near Victorville, Apple Valley area, seeing a 1.1. And currently no major swarms to report in the Southern California area. All right, what else we got? Movement across Nevada. There is some activity out here in the desert. 3.0 out in the Railroad Valley area, seeing some swarming. This area has been pretty active here outside of Warm Springs over the past couple months. A look at the last 30 days of activity shows about 30 earthquakes or so within this region. But I know it's been much more active in terms of movement out there now. Obviously, this means that there's quite a bit of stress building up out here, right? When things get locked out here along the Pacific Plate, North American Plate boundary, other subsequent fault systems, that pressure does tend to transfer inland. That's how you get these building up of mountains and whatnot. So we know the pressure out here along the west coast is pretty high, pretty great. Whether it's great enough to see a major earthquake, that remains to be seen. Across Oklahoma and Texas, not a whole lot of activity. We did have a 1.9 earlier this afternoon time period near that. This is actually outside of the Chickasha area near Amber, Oklahoma. I'm kind of curious to see what we have out here. Well, I definitely see some beautiful farmhouses out there in the prairie area. But also this could be in very close proximity of oil field pumping operations. I see quite a few of them out here actually. All right, backing out of this area, New Madrid zone looks pretty quiet. Eastern portion of the country as well. Got some activity around the Puerto Rico Trench today, including one almost right smack dab on it. 4.1, 59 kilometers deep for that earthquake. Also, earthquake coming in there. Uncertain magnitude. It's a question mark. About 10 kilometers deep there within the last hour. The Atlantic Ocean showing some signs of uptick here after a period of quiet activity. There is a 4.2 earthquake. That one coming into the Greece area earlier this morning, about 10 o'clock or so. Tajikistan area, 4.0. Latest earthquake within this region. Of course, we did have that earthquake notification there around Greece. Let's see what we got. Just looks like some smaller twos and whatnot within this area. Maybe a couple threes as well. Getting a swarm of activity down along the Pruchili Trench as noted here on the earthquake 3D globe. 4.6, here's that 4.6 off the coast, Northern California. And Mariana Trench, or the Izu Trench, definitely showing some heightened activity. I really don't think the USGS is reporting all that activity up here. Maybe some of them, but looks like they're missing out on a couple earthquakes. Either way, this area is building up with quite a bit of steam, quite a bit of deeper movement. And even though these areas westward or eastward here of this region is quiet, that's the zones to watch for some potential larger scale activity here very soon, I have a feeling. Let's see what else. Yellowstone National Park. We'll get to Hawaii here in just a little bit. Yellowstone National Park here. Super volcano. Very quiet. No major swarms going on. No major unusual activity. Only some, I normally don't even mention these little bitty ones. They're very tiny microquakes. Not even really worth mentioning. They're at Yellowstone National Park. The Big Island of Hawaii, Mauna Loa. Well, if you didn't catch my update earlier this morning, things are calming down. Calming down, meaning the terms of... why did I do that twice? Meaning the terms of lava flow. Here's the current view here from Mauna Loa, the Northeast Rift Zone, fissure number 3 here. They do currently have their live stream up and running if you want to check that out. But the still shots here from just a couple minutes ago show, well, no major fountains of lava spewing out like we have seen. Things are kind of dying off. In fact, I did do a little quick glance here of... Let me see what we got here. The tilt meters in this area is... Well, hold on a second here. I'm trying to think if it was this page or the other page I was looking at. Maybe this GPS station here. Let me back out of here. A couple other different monitoring stations here to monitor GPS movement. And... Well, this goes back over the past few years, the vertical uplift. I can't remember which one it was on. I was just looking at it. One of these tilt meters over here had a... well, either way, it had a declining inflation level. I think it may have been this one kind of up close near the summit. Let me check it out here real quick. Stand by for a second, folks. Some of these GPS stations are not working. Deflation levels, tilting, right, over the past week. Looks like they have been going down since the eruption began. That would make sense. Although starting to climb back up here. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'm trying to think if it was this one. There's one of these GPS stations here that showed some further decline in the levels. I think it was this one here. Notice these circles here indicating a pretty sufficient drop in the vertical uplift. This is local uplift. It's been obviously ongoing here for a few years. I think since about 1984 or so, but more sharply since earlier this year. But we're noticing some signals here indicating the inflation has definitely declined and dropped quite a bit there around the summit levels. So things are still active, and they probably, as long as there's still lava magma movement up at the fissure level, around fissure 3, they'll still continue to call this an eruption. The current latest updated information put out here about 3:30 this afternoon Hawaii time, just a couple hours ago, shows the northeast rift zone continues with reduced lava output and gas emissions at fissure 3 since this morning time period. As of 11:30 a.m. today, December 9th, activity at the F3 vent continues to be significantly reduced, with low lava fountains feeding lava flows that extend only 1.65 miles from the vent in the northeast direction. The channels below this point appear drained of lava and probably no longer feed the main front flow. The inactive main front flow remains stalled at 1.7 miles from the Daniel K. Highway. So also, SO2 emissions have been drastically reduced, only to about 30,000 tons per day compared to 130,000 like they were just a couple days ago. Here is the current, most recent updated map here of the flow. Notice, remember, this front flow here had continued, is getting close to the highway, but this is all stalled now. There are breakouts up here. It looks like the flow now inactive in this area. The flow front confined in channel. Fissure 3 sits right about here. So literally, this thing actually looks like we're dying down pretty drastically. I don't know if it's going to be a complete end to the eruption or not, but things are definitely looking that way for now. Multimedia pictures again. The latest webcams show, again, not a whole lot of fountaining of the lava. Still producing, some volcanic gases and whatnot. Not like a closed lid type of deal. This could continue for a little bit and then completely die out as the lava flow is completely, or the magma supply is completely reduced. But again, we'll keep an eye on it. 1904 eruption. The last eruption back then lasted for about 22 days. We're not anywhere near that. We're not even at the 2-week period. This began back on November 26th or 27th time period. So just kind of watching it, folks. See how it plays out. All right, what else do we have? Solar ham site, real quick. 3153 looks to be the main culprit. And that is going to be the ginormous one here, currently turning away from Earth. And here in the coming days, it will be, in a few days, no longer visible. So if you're going to do anything, you better do it now there, 3153, because your time has come. A couple areas up here to the north that could be active and producing some sea flares. Also a couple new regional sunspots here around the southeastern limb of the sun. We'll watch that. Either way, things are getting pretty active as far as the number of sunspots go. But again, we're not seeing any major solar flares. A couple sea flares here over the last 24 hours, but general downtrend in activity currently. Not really expecting anything major over the next couple days. No major CMEs, no major coronal holes, no major filament eruptions. Looks kind of green. Green is good, but if you like solar weather activity, you want these to be red. That way you can see green in the sky. Current aurora forecast looks like a little bit of chance up there at the higher latitudes. But aside from that, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot currently from the current solar weather activity. All right, folks, have a good night. Again, stay safe out there. West Coast kind of lighten up here a little bit. Just because this earthquake struck into a different portion of the plate boundary doesn't mean that we're looking at an easement of pressure out here. This could definitely be a sign of some further activity stretching out across the West Coast. In fact, that 2.7 coming in to, let's see exactly where that's at. Looks like wow, it's actually out there in our Nevada area. Let me show you guys real quick. Another 2.7 coming in following that earthquake there off the coast of Northern California. So things are picking up. Things are heightened currently out here along the West Coast. So that's a time to be prepared, be on guard, stay alert, and obviously make sure you have an earthquake plan if you live out here like me. I'm always prepared to go in a moment's notice if need be. But all right, guys, have a good night. We do have our member drawing coming up. Really haven't mentioned too much about it. Been kind of spacing off for a little bit. But we do have our monthly member drawing coming up here in a few days. We normally do it around the 15th time period. So we will be doing that again. If you're not a member here of the channel, make sure you guys sign up. Not for sure what the YouTube fee is, but you guys are entitled to some extra perks, which includes extra emojis and icons and extra videos and pictures and whatnot. A lot of times me and Missy Mimi's post just videos and pictures here of us and the kids, or maybe our garden work and whatnot. I'll probably add some more here once we get some outdoor activities going. But make sure you guys sign up. Become a member here of this channel to be automatically entered into our monthly drawing. And this month we're giving away a $40 gift card, whether you want it as an Amazon gift card, a Visa gift card, MasterCard, your choice. Or if you are into geology like I am and Missy Mimi's and other people, we do have some geology kits on hand here to give away if you choose that option. Or if you want some merchandise there from the Earthmaster store, you're entitled to an Earthmaster shirt or a beanie, whichever one you may like there. The Earthmaster shirts are actually pretty nice looking. All right, guys, I'm going to jump off here. Have a good night. Missy Mimi's does say hi. She's saying hi prior to this update. I was going to have her join in, but she's got a couple of geology tests that she needs to do. I finished mine earlier. Coming to an end of a semester, as far as the fall schooling goes, which is good. I kind of need a break from the massive amounts of headaches that I get each day from all this schoolwork. But either way, it's definitely informal, and I love studying geology and space and weather and everything that has to do with Earth. All right, guys, have a good night. Stay safe. Again, the live stream is up and running for the Mauna Loa live webcam view. They've been having intermittent issues with it, but I will continue to monitor it. If it goes down, I will try to put it back up. Have a good night, folks. We'll catch you guys sometime tomorrow. Stay safe.